Alright, it's time to go in because I am cold.
Hello friends, it's Serena and I am back with another Outlander inspired history bounding look. I am making a Outlander inspired bodice from a thrifted Goodwill curtain inspired by the look that Claire Fraser wears in season 1. She wears a brown bodice with a tapestry stomacher. When thrifting, I always keep an eye out on materials that I could use when making my Outlander bounding looks. And when I came across this tapestry curtain at Goodwill for only $12, I knew this would be perfect for an Outlander bounding look for season 1. Since this is a bounding look and not a directly historical reinterpretation or even the show reinterpretation, I knew that I could get away with using the entire curtain pattern for my bodice. Remember, bounding is like giving an impression and not a direct replication. One day maybe I will complete my mist and stone look by actually making a wool bodice with a lovely tapestry stomacher, but right now my sewing stash is telling me do not buy any more fabric. So maybe one day I will make that. Until then, the thrifty fit will have to do. If you would like to support my channel and my nerdy projects, consider shopping at my online store, Biblio Chic shop, for novelty items inspired by my favorite stories. After making this sleeveless bodice, I had a lot of curtain fabric left over. Let me know down below what else should I make. I know you guys all have better creative brains than mine, and I'm just kind of at a standstill what else I could make with this. Keep in mind, this is very thick fabric. It is like tapestry and it is polyester. So I don't think it'll make a really cute skirt, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comments below.
So looking at this, might be a pattern nightmare. So I'm going to use this pattern. It looks like I will have to cut out 5 pieces. Pattern matching this front piece is going to be bothersome or not, but I guess I won't know until I cut the actual pattern out. So I'm going to go ahead and spend time and cut this out, measure myself, make sure I match up to whatever they say I should be, and go from there.
I have spoken before about my body type not matching these big box pattern envelopes. It is very frustrating for me because I am a board. I'm shaped like a board. I joke that I'm a potato, but I think I'm like shaped like a graham cracker. My chest area is about the same size as my waist area. And with these big box patterns, I don't match the hourglass or the V shape.
So according to my waist measurement, I am a 18 in this McCall pattern, and this envelope does not have 18. The highest size it has is a 14, so I guess I'll be cutting out the 14. So my bust is a lot smaller, but my waist is what puts me in the higher level, so I always have to fit it down. So it looks like I will have to be doing a mock-up for this pattern.
If you have a hard time fitting your body with off-the-rack clothing, it is a good idea, especially if you were new at sewing, to always make up a mock-up. So that mock-up is just you fitting. Think about it, you taking a fitting of yourself before you actually dive into your expensive fashion fabric. In my case, it wasn't a big deal if I had messed up in my tapestry curtain fabric because it was only $12 and I had a lot of it. But I highly suggest you make a mock-up, especially if you invested in some more expensive fabric.
So mock-up 1, and I have a shirt that I will probably wear underneath that. I still have my Goodwill tag on it, but overall I don't hate the fit, but it is too long in the shoulders and the back of it kind of goes over my waistband. So I'm going to shorten the waistband, take up the shoulders, and then I think with this is hard to do one-handed, but I think with my closing I'm going to fold it up so I don't have this peak right here. Fold it up. I'm going to fold it up and make it like a peak like that. So I'll have my little peak right there. So overall, I just guess I have to mark this up.
I also like doing mock-ups because I can fit the pattern better to my body, and if I want to go back to making this pattern for a different project, I already have my mock-up pattern in the envelope and I don't have to start all over. I can just generally jump right into the project knowing that I've already put the work in and that the pattern is going to fit me much better than it just straight out of the envelope. Another good thing about making a mock-up, especially if you plan on making a lining, if you do a good enough job at it, you can use that mock-up for the lining piece like I did for this project. I had this in mind when I went through my stash to make sure I find a mock-up piece in the fabric that would actually match my finished product. I generally, when I love the mock-up and how it fits, I take apart that sewing and I trace it onto pattern so I have that pattern next time and I don't have to do all the mock-up steps again. Now that the mock-up is complete, it's time for me to start cutting out my fashion fabric or my curtain fabric. Now this fabric has a direction. Hi.
Math problem.
You want to do a math problem? Can you say hello, friends? Hi. Now that the mock-up is complete, it's time for me to cut into my curtain fabric. Now this fabric does have patterns and I wasn't going to pay too particular here in pattern matching, but I wanted to make sure that each of the pattern pieces had a separate piece of the panel. So we didn't have repeating pattern on two panels side by side. I knew I wanted the bigger pattern in the front. I cut two pieces in those lines, taking care to match the main pattern in the line from left to the right pattern. Because I didn't want to bag line this bodice, I decided to treat the lining and the curtain fabric as one piece by pad stitching. I am not a master or very knowledgeable about pad stitching, but I know that my favorite YouTuber, Bernadette Banner, does it, so I decided to do it as well. Stayed up yesterday, figured out the pattern. I pad stitched the fashion fabric to the lining, so now I'm going to press it and then stitch it all up, and then I will check in a little bit.
So in all honesty, I don't really know a whole lot about pad stitching except that you should do it if you have lining, especially with thick fabric. So it took a good hour last night, but hopefully everything will stay. I think I am going to trim all of the excess fabric because I know the liner is fitted my body.
I don't know if I did overkill in pad stitching in this, but it did make sure that the lining and the curtain fabric did not shift. After pad stitching, I kind of treated this all as just one. My next task was to sew up all of the seams. Okay, that surprisingly came together pretty easily. I was going to put boning channels in the seams, but since this is a thicker fabric, I feel like it gives me support anyways. The only fit problem I have is when I put it together, like I'm going to button it. It gapes a little bit in the chest area, so I think the easiest fit to make is just to make this angle a little harsher. I know it's not as 18th century square neck, it's more of a sweetheart's neck, but I'd rather it be show incorrect than have a gapey chest area. Well, I'm gonna fix that, and then I am going to take some twill tape and finish the edges. Just hand fell them on to finish that. Then I'm gonna cut some bias strips out of some brown linen that I have and do the edging and then the button. The way I was going to finish the seams is to trim down the seam allowance, place twill tape right on top to cover those seams. I had originally thought that I was going to bone every single seam because I didn't know how much structure the tapestry fabric was going to lend. I decided to take out the boning for all the seams, just leaving the two front closures, so that would give me some rigidity. Those pockets are in place. If I decide to put boning in later, I will just untake those stitches and slide the boning in, but really I don't think it needs it. If you do wish to use boning, you can get like synthetic boning from specialty shops like Burnley and Trowbridge or Red Threaded, or you can just go to your local hardware store and get cable ties, like the thickest cable ties that you can get, and cut those down. Those hold up pretty nice. Although they are plastic and it's a different type of plastic than what the corset makers nowadays use. Still, if you're under a budget and you don't want to wait for shipping, you can always do that. To finish the front closure, I folded and ironed down about 1 inch of the fabric towards the back. Again, I used 1 inch linen tape to do this. It just made everything easy, and I used a felling stitch to stitch all of that down. After hand stitching all of the seams with my linen tape, it was time for me to direct my brain power into finishing the edges of the bodice. Again, I went through my stash and I found this lovely brown linen that I just cut into bias strips and made bias tape. After I made the bias tape, I folded it in half lengthwise and matched the raw seam up to the right side of the fabric, stitched all of that down, pressed it flat, and wrapped it around to the lining side, and again finished it by using a felling stitch. I decided to use 8 silver hooks and eyes as the closure and love how it makes the bodice look like it closes like the 18th century way.
Oh, you can't see the snow. Alright, it's time to go in because I am cold.
I am super pleased about how my Outlander bounding look turned out. I especially love it paired with my thrifted scarf that I kind of folded into a cowl, and I think it pairs nicely with my I Have Lived 1,000 Lives pin that you can find in Biblio Chic shop, because you know I feel like Claire has lived many lives. I definitely recommend sewing up this pattern, and it could definitely be modified to a whole bunch of historical bounding looks, especially if you wanted to do something like this. I love the feel of the tapestry. I think it's a perfect weight for this look, and it pairs very nicely with my Mist and Stone skirt. I might go back and add a couple of hooks and eye. As you can see, with my skirt belted and I lift my hands up and then I just put them down, it kind of sits funny. You can see the waistline, so I might go back, I don't know when, but I might go back and add hooks and eye at the bottom of this bodice and maybe belt loops to kind of just hold that all in place. So that's really my only complaint about this ensemble. Side note, I did wear this going grocery shopping one Sunday, and I was stopped by one of the grocers and he said, "You by far take the prize for the best dress shopper of the day." So I felt like that was a very good compliment, considering not everybody goes out in public wearing an Outlander bounding look. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like this video by giving it a thumbs up. And next week, I'm going to be making a matching capelet that matches this Mist and Stone, because I have a couple of leftovers. So if you don't want to miss those videos or any of my future Outlander bounding sewing videos, make sure you subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.